Valerie Davis. I am the convener of the Black Coalition for Excellence in Education. I'm Valerie Davis, and I want to welcome you to this really important workshop, which we are doing at the request of folks like you. BCEE is about to celebrate our second anniversary in April. We're a young organization of about 700 plus community members, just like you, Black parents, Black guardians, students, staff, and supporters. And tonight we have a very specific statement of purpose. We are here to do the thing that helps you work with MCPS as well as advocates like us to release all the brilliance in our Black children. And in this night, we're particularly focused on your children, children who either need or are supposed to have access to and are enjoying the benefit of special education services. So it's important on this screen to understand this is a racially and culturally sensitive, safe space. We're going to learn, we're going to explore, we're going to talk about tactics. So just get ready, get comfortable, have something to write with. You will hear from MCPS experts as well as be guided by facilitators in our breakout sessions. So here is our agenda. Go back up. We are here to, first to have an open space. I'm going to explain that in a minute. And then you will hear from the project manager for our special education programming, Felicia Williams-Palmer, who will introduce our guest speaker. And then you will go to one of your assigned breakout sessions. Don't worry that you can't go to all three because all will be recorded. You will get the presentations and that will be sent out to you as well. So with that, let's get started. This is who we are. I'm not going to read through the screens, but you'll recognize the faces. Felicia is the woman who made all of this possible from the BCEE side. She's the leader of this project area. And Ricky and I and Tiffany will be facilitators in your other sessions. We're going to finish these introductions and go into the open space. So I'll turn it over to Mary Beth.
Hi, everyone. I am Mary Beth Mansuranis, and I'm just going to share. These are the folks you'll see from MCPS tonight. We have Tony, who is an instructional specialist with Breakout. We have Lydia, who is also in the Department of Special Education. Sarah, actually, now that I'm saying these things out loud, I probably don't need to because you can all see and read. So I apologize for that. So these will be your presenters for session 3, actually. The folks along the bottom row here will be your presenters for session 1. Presenters on the top row and the bottom left are for session 2. And then there's Kia and myself. So we're super glad to be here tonight, and hopefully you'll walk away with some good information for
Why did you take a picture from 20 years ago?
Listen.
Yours is 20 years ago and mine was 10 minutes ago. So there you go.
All right. So just to remind you of the agenda, thank you for all who are sewing into this. Now we're into the open space. And I'm going to stop sharing because this is the time we're going to spend just a few minutes doing what we often don't get to do when we just jump into, oh, what are we going to solve for? So feel free to come off camera, come on audio. And I'm going to apologize in advance for something. Really, do you start with an apology? But I'm going to apologize for something. And Tiffany will feel this in her soul as well as Ricky. Our ethos is to connect deeply with people. That's not a Zoom thing. I would love it if the 161 people literally who registered, we could get you all in the room and we could sit and eat and have childcare and all the things and get this done. We are not doing that tonight, but listen to my words. I promise you that the next time we reconvene on this topic, we will be looking at each other and breaking some bread because that's the ethos of Black folks. And that's what we need to do. But tonight, we're going to spend our time diving in. And you all, because we center people that we serve from the grassroots, not to the grassroots or around the grassroots. You're going to tell us how best to do that so it doesn't tax you. So here's the open space. Here is the question. I need you to open up your chat and you're going to put a number in the chat from 0 to 5. Everybody, MCPS people, everybody. My question is, I want the rating for your level of personal peace right now. Just you as an individual. From 0, I got absolutely no peace, to 5, like, I feel pretty peaceful most of the time. What's the number? Load the chat. Ricky's and Tiffany and all y'all. I need you to call out some numbers because I want you all to give me a sense of what the numbers look like. It's a 0, I have no peace, all the way to 5, which is
So far, most of the scores have ranged between 1 and 4. So far, the
Okay.
highest I've seen is 4.5.
Okay. Keep
My
going.
number was I think it was a 2 or a 3 for me.
Okay. Anybody else want to say verbally where you are before somebody gives me a quick summary? How you feeling, Sandy? What's going on, Lydia? Give me a number. Come on.
Good. I'm a 3. I think that's pretty good.
Okay, don't feel like you got to be a 3 for anybody else, because if I didn't put negative numbers on the scale, but some of us, that's where we are. I'm about a -1, although you won't be able to tell. Okay, what's it looking like, Ricky, Tiffany? What's it looking like? Majority of
Ricky?
numbers.
Looks like an average of 3 to me.
That's really good.
Yeah, 3 seemed to be the most common number, which
I'm
means
sorry, was this a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5?
We're only going to 5.
5.
Well, then I gave the wrong number. I thought it was 1 to 10.
Only going to 5.
Same.
Okay, so
Okay.
1 to 5, I would change my number.
What would you change it to?
Probably about a 1.
Okay. Here's the thing. We're not going to solve for peace tonight. But I needed to do that because you just need a clearing before you can start pouring stuff into your brain and your heart and your soul, right? We are going to address separately. We have a Black Joy event coming up. Mark your calendars on the 29th of this month. It's game night. We're not going to solve any problems. We're not going to listen to any social media. We're not going to read any reports. It is strictly bring your best game. Uno, cards, chess.
Okay.
I don't know, dice, whatever it is you're playing on the 29th to all set in Silver Spring. So that's what we're doing. Thank you for sharing. Now let's jump into it. Let me go back to my screen. And I'm going to be turning it over, I believe, to, let me know when you can see the screen. Is it coming?
It's coming.
Okay, I can't tell on this end. I apologize.
now loading. It just a black screen. It just says you started screen sharing.
All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Diana while this comes up, just to talk about, give an overview of special education. Diana, you with us? You all can go back on mute and turn off your screens if you like, because Diana's on point.
Your screen is up, Val.
There we go.
Good evening. And thank you, Val. Thank you for having us. Thank you for asking us to host this workshop. My name is Diana Wiles. I'm the Associate Superintendent for Special Education for Montgomery County Public Schools. This is an awesome opportunity and opportunity that hopefully will extend into the rest of this year, next year, and moving forward as you all grow as an organization. To try to explain special education in Montgomery County is a huge lift. We have about 22,000 students from birth to age 21. We have a multitude of services for students who have all types of disabilities. And we have a very, very strong team at central office who supports our schools every day through job shadowing with our new and seasoned teachers and paraeducators, through attending IEP meetings to support conversations for our students. So I would encourage you to reach out if you have concerns at your school level. We also have Mary Beth, who facilitates many of the workshops for the Office of Special Education. I'd also like to encourage you to attend the CCAC, or Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee. That meeting is held monthly. It's an opportunity for us to share information that would be beneficial to all of our stakeholder groups. For example, we have individuals that work with parks and planning that come out and tell us about opportunities that they have for students with disabilities, whether it's through the summer or during the school year. So it's a phenomenal opportunity for you to have your voice heard. We do public comment at that time. So I would really encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity. Every student with an IEP in Montgomery County is important, and your voice as a parent is important, it's relevant, it's necessary, it's part of the process. And you should feel like you know and you understand how to work with your school and how to advocate for your children. And so that's what this evening is about. We certainly can't touch on in this short period of time everything that you need to know. But again, the people who are presenting, your supervisors that are assigned to your schools, those are your resources to help you through the process, because it is and can be a difficult process. Again, thanks, Val, for helping to get us to this point. I know this has been a long time in coming, as well as Felicia. And I hope you all have a extremely beneficial evening, and you learn a lot about how special education is run in Montgomery County Public Schools.
Thank you very, very much, Diana. And I have, as you have been speaking, I've just been scrolling through a document that is part of the presentation that you are going to receive. And this is OSC's document called Who Do I Call? So you're seeing on the screen, who do you call based on your school, based on what the issue is. You see pictures of the folks, so you can put faces with names, administrators, as well as support folks. And I want to just ask Mary Beth, I know you weren't on script, but just come on and just explain your role in particular. If you could, Mary Beth. I can't see you because I'm scrolling on the
That's
screen.
okay, sure. So I'm the Family Support Services Coordinator, which basically means when parents have questions or concerns about something, sometimes they'll call the school and the school will direct them to me, or sometimes they'll just call me directly. And sometimes I end up as a navigator, like helping parents to get to the right place, but sometimes I'm a sounding board and like a problem solver. So we can work collaboratively to figure out sort of the next steps that are needed. So that's more the personal end of things, but then we also run workshops throughout the year. Some of them are PEP focused, some of them are secondary, and that's more the transition unit and PEP office. And then some are more global. And I also help, have lots of support. The resource fairs that we run, we had one in January, we have another one in May. That's just filled with so many community organizations that offer resources and support. And we know that, being a parent is hard, right? And being a parent of a child who has a disability is harder because there's just more that comes with it. And so my goal and my role is really just to be there to provide whatever level of support it is that families need.
Thank you very much, Mary Beth. So again, I'm just scrolling on the screen through the presentation called Who Do I Call? And there's a lot to know. No one's expecting you to absorb this, but just take this away and just know that all of this you're going to receive not only in the visual presentation, but also in the actual presentation that you're going to receive at the end of this. So are there any questions about this piece in the chat? Ricky, Tiffany, anybody, Mary Beth?
Just a request to share the link, the PowerPoint, I guess, to the PowerPoint that you were going through.
Okay.
And also, I would like to let everyone know, if you look in the chat, there is a form for you to complete to sign up for the 24-25 SCCAC monthly meetings and to receive emails. So make sure you check the chat. Kia Murphy posted that for everyone.
And you do have one question about your game night. Somebody wanted to know.
Hey, Tiffany, you're on for that question.
They just wanted to know if it's family friendly.
It is for adults only. Thank you for asking that question. It is adults only.
Oh, yes, this time it is.
So Brianna, I don't know if that's a woohoo or if that's a boo, but
No, sometimes, the grown folk just have to
Oh,
get
we need a woohoo
I was
after
gonna say,
raising
I might
these
woohoo
children.
that.
We need a woohoo.
We love them.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And on that night, we will love them from afar. So before I turn it over to Felicia, again, our fantastic and dedicated and just beloved project manager for special education programming for BCEE, who will introduce our guest speaker. I just want to put a few facts up here because a lot of people, I will say that I don't think anyone on that is presenting or facilitating tonight hasn't been enmeshed in MCPS in some way. They're graduated, Ricky, and I know are graduates of MCPS. We either have children that are in MCPS, like Tiffany. We have graduates. We've either been advocates, your teachers, your administrators. So everybody's been in the soup. And a lot of times you're so focused on getting the children through the soup and excelling, right? That we don't necessarily have a district-wide view. So here are just a few facts. Some people don't know how many Black students there are. They don't know how many are in special education. They don't know how that matches up with the teacher profile. So just take a gander at that. You will get the presentation. But I say that because I want you to see our MCPS and BCEE as sources of facts to help ground your experience. So we can sometimes say, am I the only one, or am I alone? Or how does this actually work outside of my school? Having the facts are important. So with that, I will turn it over to Felicia, who will introduce our guest speaker.
I just wanted to pause. Tracy, you can put your question in the chat if I saw your hand raised.
All right, Felicia.
Everyone, I'm excited to introduce our guest speaker tonight. This is a privilege that we are able to hear from her. Marcy Jackson is a world-renowned special education advocate. She is the founding director of SEEUS, SEEUS, Special Education Excellence for Underserved Students with Special Needs, and she provides free expert educational advocacy to and for students with special needs. So we're in for a treat. She also provides advocacy coaching and training for parents and professionals through the Resch Institute for Educational Leadership. She is the recent author of a book, Pour the Water, that has transformative solutions for equity and justice in special education. The handbook contains strategies and tools for the field of special education for students with special needs. And tonight, one random person in each breakout group will receive a copy of her book. So you have to be present to get that. So hang in there in your breakout groups. So Marcy Jackson, thank you for accepting our invitation to speak tonight and to provide strategies and tools for parents, for us in working with students with special needs. Welcome and thank you. So next, I guess the breakout groups.
No, first Marcy is going.
I'm sorry, okay.
Marcy should be able to share her slides, and while she's doing that, I just want to say I have my copy of the book. I actually went to the book club discussion. Y'all missed it. You might be able to ask Marcy to do it again. Fantastic. One person in the breakout group will get one of these. Go, Marcy.
All right. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I am pulling up my slides, but I wanted to just say what an honor it is to be here. And I'm just so excited. I love how everyone is in their peace zone. And that's really important.
You good?
It's really important to have that that be in that peace zone, especially when we are in the mode of advocating and dealing with issues surrounding special needs. I am pulling up my slides. Let me just get it over here. Is it working? So the first thing I'll say is a couple things. One, I just want to clarify, I'm going to share with you a resource. SEEUS provides advocacy for at low cost, no cost.
Are you all able to hear Marcy?
Marcy is frozen.
Oh.
I'll just take a moment while there's space in the chat about special education supervisors and instructional specialists. I thought it would be to know that they are essentially an advocate for you as parents or guardians, and certainly for your student and then for school staff. They support the IEP process, whether it's designed instruction in the classroom, attending an IEP meeting, answering any questions that you may have. They are assigned to schools. So whichever school that your child attends, find that school, and that would be the supervisor and instructional specialist.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear me? I'm gonna keep plowing through this. It looks like the airwaves are trying to keep us from getting this information to you, but I'm gonna keep going. So Pour the Water, Transformative Solutions for Equity and Justice in Special Education was written for several stakeholders. For example, one in particular, and I will just share you, I was also a parent of a child with special needs 26 years ago. And this is when my journey began. You have that moment where you recognize, I don't know what I'm doing, what is going to happen, what does this mean, and how do I navigate this? And so I wrote this book, partially, and who particularly have a long-standing history of heartache when you think about history and years before now, have a long-standing history of heartache, experiencing the denial of their child's potential. That is something that we can embrace, we recall, and it's we talk about fact-based. I mean, when we think about historical situations that happened that separated mother and child, especially in the Black family, that in terms of education, right, limited educational opportunities. And so that denial of a child's potential is something that we are constantly mindful of. Hebraistan Torah teacher, Mori Maim, he said that the word for mother in ancient Hebrew is Amma. And it shows that she is the glue of the household. So when you put those letters together, it means glue. The Amma, she's the power, the leader. And then that mem, it represents water. And when you put it together, that is a watery substance that holds the household together is the mother. In other words, she holds it all together. Preparing for IEP meetings, been there, speaking up, asking questions, helping with homework, talking with teachers and staff, and preparing a home environment conducive to learning success. Thus, she feels a deep personal disappointment when she is unable to hold her house together. And for teachers who aren't familiar, or providers or other stakeholders or other family members, when you don't recognize that connection, when that denial happens, that's an instant tag to, oh no, what have I done wrong? Right? So it's an instant reflection, and she begins to take that personally. So it's something we have to be mindful of, that all of a sudden now that puts her in a different perspective to look at what at this challenge now, and now she's facing it kind of with her claws out now, right? It's almost like, oh, wait a minute, now they're trying to keep something from helping my household to be strong, and my child is a significant contributor when it comes to that. So this disappointment is the pain you see in her face during IEP meetings, and the sorrow in her eyes when prison becomes her child's new home. The school to prison pipeline is also another motivating factor for me writing this book, because it is so much a part of this process when we
don't get the right interventions and do the right things that are necessary along this process. By embracing the practices outlined, stakeholders will lessen Black mothers' pain and cries. So hopefully we can generate a compassionate response to looking at things more closely, looking at things differently, so that we can try to allay some of this pain and cries, maybe at the doctor's office when you get the diagnoses, maybe at home because the child is failing academically, maybe at school during IEP meetings when denied services, maybe at work wondering if the child is okay at school, maybe at night because the child is involved in unlawful acts. That's what happens when we become disenfranchised with education, because for whatever reasons, education can't hold that attention, can't hold that grip. At prison, seeing their child inside the visitation site room. We need to begin with compassion for these mothers, and I'll say, and fathers too, right? And have passion for equity, ready to remove racialized educational disability injustices. And that's what I code as ready. So this is what this is the reason why this book was written. And so I don't mean to start off so boldly, but in a sense I do, right? I want to let you know how important it is, and that's where it is. But the book is written for many stakeholders, and I'll share more about that as we come along. Are my slides showing? Can you all see my slides now?
Yes.
Okay, I want to go back up.
I have them on display. Just tell me what page you'd like.
Oh, go all the way up. Go all the way up. Yeah. So one of the things I want to say, the reason why I titled this Preparing Black Parents for Special Needs Leadership is that's the state we're in, right? If you haven't thought of yourself as a leader, as someone who has to kind of take charge, you do. And that is the space and the ownership that you must have when you're dealing with a child with special needs, because you're having to work with so many people. So you're having and many of these people, whether it's a doctor, a provider, a teacher, administrator, another family member, they're looking to you for, well, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to handle it? Here are the options. What do you want to do? So that requires leadership skills. And so it's very important. You can go to the next slide. And so one of the things that I did, this was back in, I think 2012 or so, I started pulling this concept of educational leadership for parents around. And educational leadership for parents is the approach that says that parents are the primary teachers. So from there's these 7 stages, from accepting to adjusting, we find success when we leverage collaboration and strengths. And so that is the premise by which I, sort of this call to action, especially in these times we're in right now, is we have to make sure that we are recognizing that we are in this position, and then we have these, we have to be collaborative, and we have to leverage these strengths, and getting those strengths through skills, through training, through this session that you're having tonight is a great way. That's my son, me and my son there, when he graduated from high school. And this is why we do it, right? We all do it so we can get them from point A to point B. And what a joy it is, and how appreciative they are when they see our hard work, our advocacy coming, has come to fruition, and we had success. So this is the light at the end, or in the middle. I mean, obviously there's adulthood, but we're talking pre-K to 12 tonight. All right, so as you all, we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so one of the principles in the book, Pour the Water, and there are several frameworks, and the book is about frameworks, but it's for all stakeholders. But there's one that I want us to understand, and it's called RIP. And RIP it stands for Recognition, Referral, Intervention, Identification, Placement, and Progression. The idea of RIP, obviously, we want to rip the school to prison pipeline, just rip it right up, rip it away. But it's basically saying, even if you don't, I want you to understand IDEA from the essence of it in spirit. Yes, there are specific processes and protocols that are in place, and there's a lot of jargon, there's a lot of information, there's a lot to know about how identification works. But the essence of it is, one, we recognize that there's a disability. We recognize there's a special need. We recognize there's a gift. We recognize there's a difference. We recognize there's a delay. Once we recognize that, we need to refer to the appropriate persons, services, institutions, departments, etc. We make that referral. Once we make that referral, we've got to make sure that we start to work on some interventions. Let's try this. Let's see if this works. This is proven to work. This particular strategy is proven to work for students or learners with this type of profile. Let's see how this works. So there are interventions that we try first. And you might hear this called response to intervention. This is where we see what works first before we say, oh, wow, we definitely got to have an IEP. We want to see what works first. And sometimes as an advocate, I've been an advocate for about 17 years now. One of the things I find is that there isn't an effective response to intervention done first to see what the areas of opportunity are, where we need to go. Are we at tier 3? Kind of moving up that needle before assuming that the child needs individualized instruction. This is just an example. Once we get to identification in any one of those identification disability codes, then we move into placement. Well, where's the appropriate placement, right? Identification, we know that's where we get a lot of the disproportionality, significant disproportionality, whether it's emotional disability or learning disability. Let's get the identification right. Let's make sure we are labeling appropriately, because that drives so much more. And ideally, the IEP, yes, whatever the needs, the impact areas are, the IEP is going to support that child. So parents don't get overly concerned by the disability code. An effective IEP is going to meet the needs of that child. But identification is important. Placement is important, right? If the child isn't in the right placement, it could make a big difference, right? And progression, we've got to monitor progress. And that's one thing that, that allows, that the advocacy process does. It does focus on progress, making progress. You guys get your quarterly progress reports, right? It's really important to get those quarterly progress reports. Take a look at it, have a discussion, have a meeting, ask questions. So progress monitoring is important. This is one of the goals. There are about 7 in the book, and they're for all stakeholders. This one in particular says, given RIP, and RIP is explained, and educational leadership, right? This idea and this methodology that I am the primary parent. Taking these training, practices, modeling, parents of Black students with special needs will be able to recognize their child's difference, disability, gift, and develop a plan to collaboratively advocate for their child and monitor the plans for meaningful progress for at least one Black student with special needs, for example, by June 2026, as measured by appropriate identification placement at least 2 areas of progress. That's just an example goal, right? That's ambitious, but that's what you'll find is I wrote these kind of goals as ideas around what we could do if we came together. See Us is, that is an organization we started in 2020. You know what was going on in 2020. I don't need to, relive it for us. See Us stands for Special Education Excellence for Underserved Students. There's our website. If you are in Montgomery County, I would love for you to apply. Again, this is for income eligible individuals. If you do not meet income eligibility, then we can have a tip sheet that I did share. And if you wouldn't mind going on to there, this is a tip sheet that you should receive. These are 4 steps we suggest. You can do this right now. Parent input, record reviews, progress monitoring, and meeting advocacy. Those are just 4 core things that you can work on, that you can do. 1, parents, you know your child the best. Knowing how they perform at home and at school, you can see and share their weaknesses, their strengths, and work with the school to develop a plan. Record reviews, right? You can ask for your records. Look over your records. See and ask the school for those records. Progress monitoring. Parents want to know and be able to tell if their child is making progress. That is something that all of a sudden, sometimes in IEP meetings, that can be real vague and sometimes really complicated. If we can make that, simplify that, that would be really helpful. Parents can see and compare your progress reports. And then obviously meeting advocacy. You know, sometimes I'm in meetings and the meetings start and I have to say, I'm sorry, can we hear from the parent, please? No, parents just want to be heard. As a parent, you want your voice. You may not even know the right words to say all the time, but at least you want your voice to be included. So you might see and write your comments ahead of time. It's okay. Read from a script. That's fine. Write out your thoughts. Write what your concerns are. They will be captured by the meeting recorder and embedded into the IEP process. So it's really important. And finally, I will say thank you. Thank you to BCEE for having me. And a couple of things, just so you're going to have a tip sheet. You're going to have a tip sheet that gives you those 4. I'm also going to put in the chat a link to a training if you'd like to get training in Pour the Water. I'm also going to ask you to follow our social media, see us. We share a lot of good information on LinkedIn or all the social media places, Instagram and Facebook. And of course, you can order your own book, Pour the Water, at reshinstitute.com, or just go to Amazon. You can get it from there as well. So thank you so much. I will close with that. Any questions or comments?
There were some comments, I don't know, questions actually in the chat that I can speak to. Somebody asked, what quarterly progress report is the speaker referring to? I don't know if you wanted to address that.
Okay, and I apologize. I should have said IEP progress reports. Typically, it's quarterly. It could be a different period of time, but typically a quarterly progress report. So excuse me, when students who have an individualized education plan have goals and services, the school will provide a progress report on those goals so that every quarter you can see, is the child making progress on that goal? That's what I was referring to.
Thank you. And then we had one more question from Brianna. What if we do not receive consistent communication, updates, or progress reports?
So that's a great point to bring up at your next meeting. One of the things that I always encourage parents to consider and school teams to consider is say, how can we improve homeschool communication? And that is actually something that you can add to your supplementary aids and services, right? You can develop a home to school communication plan with your school, with the school team. And what that looks like is going to be different for each student because it's different for what your needs are. But that is important. Communication is really key. And I would suggest, if you're not having success working with the IEP chair, that maybe you ask for a school administrator to join the meeting to help with that communication.
Marcy, would you mind if I tag teamed you on that?
Yes, I would love to. Absolutely.
Okay, so I answered in the chat and I said your first point of contact is your case manager, who is the special educator. If you are having difficulty, I said, just like you did, the school-based administrator, who certainly should be a part of the meeting. And if not there, that's also what the special education supervisor or instructional specialist can be helpful in doing, is establishing that line of communication. And as you indicated, supporting you with thinking about appropriate accommodations or supplementary aids and services on the IEP. As a last resort, nothing to be, I guess, bad about it, but the resolution and compliance unit is also there as another layer of support.
Yes. Thank you very much. Excellent.
All right, so thank you very much, Marcy. Hopefully you'll jump into at least one of the breakout groups, or you can roam. Mary Beth is going to give us instructions now about how to go to the session of your choice. We will not be returning to this room, but stay to the end, not only because you want your chance at getting one free copy of this book, but also because you will get links to the presentations that you have seen tonight, and because we need a feedback form from you. So let me just do, while Mary Beth gives instructions and you all click on the appropriate link and jump out, including the facilitators and the presenters, I'm going to share one last screen
Yeah, I was
and
like,
then
if you
we'll
could
go
bring
from
this,
there.
if you could bring the screen up. So everyone, in your registration form, you selected either session 1, 2, or 3. Sorry, if we had the presentation up, I could review it with you. Hold on one sec. We'll share this.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up.
Okay, so I have this one. So session 1 is on how students are identified for special education services, the process, the people, and the planning. And I'm going to put that link in the chat, or someone from BCE, one of us will do that for session 1. Session 2 is how to assess whether your child's IEP is working, spelled incorrectly, sorry you guys,
Ricky, can you put the links in?
and what to do if it's not. And then the third one was know your rights, discipline, suspensions, expulsion, and placement. Again, you all selected the ones that you were interested in. So please sort of go to those rooms, although my big concern before was really around interpretation needs, and that really hasn't been an issue tonight. So if you had hoped to maybe split the sessions, one for you, one for your spouse, and that's no longer the case, choose the session that speaks to you. I'm going to stop sharing, Val, so that if
Wait,
you
no, keep sharing and scroll down to page, go down.
Sure.
Because
Which
we're
one
not
do you want?
coming back to this room. I hope you all are very satisfied so far. You are going to get this QR code and the feedback form. Please don't leave your other room until you take care of those things. One more on
Yeah,
page 16.
this slide will be at the end of your presentations.
And then on 16, we are having a Black Book Drives. It's a point and click and buy a bundle of Black books by Black people for Black kids that will be sent to them for free. This is for Black MCPS students. You can participate and you can get books. More to come. And we're having a next webinar talking about external advocacy options. And that's it. Thank you for coming. Go to your breakout groups.